Companions, we are currently experiencing the most intense disruption to our normal way of life since the flu pandemic of 1918 and of course the First and Second World Wars. Every facet of our daily lives has been and continues to be affected by COVID-19. We're having to adapt, take greater care of our health and protect those we hold dear to us, especially those who are at greatest risk. Our Freemasonry is similarly affected. Since the resumption was announced by the United Grand Lodge of England in July, we have had to adapt, take great care to abide by the rules to keep safe, and have recognised and supported those of our members who are not so easily able to plan for an early return. In my letter to you all on the 14th of July, I urged you at the outset to consider a most cautious and common sense approach in all that you planned to do. That there was no need for rushing into anything unless and until you were confident that your health and well-being was protected, as well as for those around you, including loved ones at home. We have faced many challenges since then, as many of you have faced in your own chapters, as you tentatively planned for resumption, and now, unfortunately, you will be reviewing those plans again. Our annual convocation was, of course, originally scheduled for the 7th of April, and subsequently cancelled due to the suspension of Freemasonry and the lockdown. I was determined that we should reschedule and look ahead to have a positive target upon which to focus our minds, with the proviso that when the time came, it had to be safe and appropriate to meet. So, back in May, we booked today's event. We had planned for the many, not for the few, but with the new restrictions coming into force on Monday of this week, we are now down to the few. 6 in total, to be precise. Also, with a week's notice, we were faced with the unexpected closure of Tettenhall Road, at which we had been booked. Fortunately, 2 other Masonic halls quickly stepped in to offer their facilities, Wednesbury and Stafford, and I am most grateful to the committees of both. It saddens me immensely that we were not able to accommodate this year's acting provincial officers whose appointments came into effect on the 7th of April, nor our general membership, or any of our special and distinguished companions and friends on what is just my 2nd annual convocation as your Grand Superintendent. However, I am mandated by Supreme Grand Chapter to hold a convocation once a year in order to transact regular provincial business. And whilst we still had the opportunity to meet safely, albeit in a severely limited number, my executive and I remained resolute that we proceeded. Not least because the installations of the 2nd and 3rd Provincial Grand Principals designate were well overdue. To the companions of the province, I send a heartfelt thank you for your patience and understanding. I remain hopeful that we shall return to some sort of normality by early next year, and certainly by the time of our next annual convocation, which is scheduled for the 10th of June. By then, I hope that it will be safe to meet in much larger numbers, and I shall be at the front of the queue, warmly welcoming you all back. I hope to retain the June date in the future, as the change not only allows the acting officers to remain in post until the conclusion of all of our season's installations, but it also avoids the date variations of Easter, which has caused administrative headaches to our planning for so many years. On a Zoom call on the 7th of April, I welcomed and congratulated all those who had received appointments to and promotions within Provincial Grand Chapter, and confirmed that these would take effect from that day. I have again today formally reconfirmed these appointments and promotions. The acting provincial officers of the year would normally now be seeking out chapters to visit, but of course this will not be feasible until the new limit on those attending is relaxed. However, on a more positive note, you will all remain in office for a couple of months longer than you may have originally anticipated. A very warm welcome to my new team, because we are very much of a team. I congratulate my new 2nd and 3rd Provincial Grand Principals, Andy Brittle and Ralph Howarth, on finally being obligated, invested and installed today. I have already congratulated and welcomed the Provincial Grand Scribe N, Selwyn Burton, to the senior team. I hope that the 3 of you will enjoy your new offices and gain great satisfaction discharging your important duties whilst visiting our chapters as soon as this again becomes possible. I am indebted to my deputy Eddie Ford for his support and wise counsel. He also heads our retention initiative and takes action as soon as we receive a notice of member resignation. His personal approach to the companion concerned is proving to be most effective. Also to the past second Provincial Grand Principal, Richard Parrott, for his valuable and dedicated service to this province over the past 4 years in acting office. He continues to support the Royal Arch behind the scenes and remains on our reserve list should the need arise. I thank the Provincial Grand Scribee, Matt Gibbons, and his team in the Provincial Office for their hard work in arranging today. Likewise to Chris Adams, the Provincial Grand Director of Ceremonies, for ensuring that everything ran smoothly and in a COVID-friendly, safe format. Thank you to both of you for all that you do. I'm very grateful to the Provincial Grand Master for his openness, enthusiasm and very positive support of the Royal Arch. Our two orders do of course share a special and unique relationship, which in Staffordshire has further developed as a great partnership. Last year we started a new initiative together to support each other's orders at a full-scale visit. The Provincial Grand Master and his officers attended, as a craft delegation, Ceramic Chapter's centenary last December, and I was delighted to lead a Royal Arch delegation to support the Provincial Grand Master and his officers at the Prince of Wales Lodge centenary in the February of this year. This new initiative was a resounding success, and we are both very keen that it continues as soon as circumstances permit. I also wish to place on record my thanks to the acting provincial officers of 2019 who supported us in great numbers on these special occasions, as well as at the full-scale visit to St John's chapter that was led by my deputy Eddie Ford. Many also supported us as we visited the chapters in the province at their installations. Unfortunately, our last visiting season was cut short as COVID-19 took hold and as, one by one, our chapters started to abandon their convocations due to ever-increasing health risks. Before the lockdown, we were able to present 50-year certificates to Alan Astle and John Griffiths and another to Chris Bellis just after it had been lifted. Congratulations to all three on their remarkable achievements. Despite the lockdown, some other very important appointments came into force on the 30th of April for those Staffordshire companions who had received appointments and promotions in Supreme Grand Chapter. I again congratulate my deputy, Eddie Ford, on his promotion to Past Grand Sword Bearer, our Provincial Communications Officer, Mike Santo Pietro, on his acting rank appointment to Grand Standard Bearer, and the Provincial Grand Scribee, Matt Gibbons, on his appointment to Past Grand Standard Bearer. Unfortunately, they all missed out on the very special experience of attending Supreme Grand Chapter to receive their honours, but we remain hopeful that a separate celebratory event may be forthcoming. Members of our chapter support group have been very busy developing a wide-ranging portfolio comprising of support for the Royal Arch Ambassadors Scheme, regular communications and initiatives to promote the order, talking heads, demonstrations teams, talks, lectures and quizzes, and visiting support teams to assist chapters in need of key officers. Information on any of these can be obtained from Adrian Harris or Mike Santo Pietro. I send my gratitude to all those involved for their insight and endeavours. Companions, just 38% of our craft members are in the Royal Arch. We have to ask ourselves, how can that be when the Royal Arch is the final act of 4 in a brother's journey through pure ancient Freemasonry? We must of course avoid putting undue pressure on them to join, but let them see from our own enthusiasm. Let us motivate and inspire them to seek out and take part in our order that gives us as companions so much joy and pleasure. The additional challenge now, of course, is to hold on to them when they do show interest and to involve and nurture them until we can again conduct exaltations. We have much to do in the year ahead, albeit much of it for now appears to involve the use of Zoom, and of course other audio-visual conferencing applications are available. Let us look to the future with enthusiasm and confidence. I look forward to seeing as many of you as possible during the ensuing year, when allowed to do so, and most definitely at our next annual convocation at the County Showground in June. Companions, in my afternoon address at Provincial Grand Chapter last year, I said that enjoyment has to remain at the heart of all that we do. I have since tweaked it a little too. Enjoyment and safety has to remain at the heart of all that we do. Thank you, companions, for all that you do and for your support. May the true and living God Most High keep you safe and grant us all good health and happiness in our tasks in the year to come and until we can meet again.